So let's jump right in. This session, some of you may have attended in the past. I see some familiar faces. In the past, it's been making the most with one iPad. And I just realized the further I got into this, the more you can do many of the things I had either on your computer, PC, Mac, phone. And I just realized that we had to change it. So that's why it's making the most with the tech you have. And so I'm speaking specifically to people who aren't in a one-to-one situation. Not, although I will say if you are in a one-to-one situation, you'll find some things that hopefully will be helpful for you. My contact information is here. I do have a blog, the thriftytechteacher.com, which I started last year, and for most of the year was very religious in posting, and then I started a new job at a new school in a new grade. And so I've taken a little bit of a break. In fact, if you go onto the blog right now, the last post is kind of an apology for not posting things and saying, when I get my head on straight, I'll start posting again. And so thriftytechteacher.com has got a lot of these resources. I will actually on that blog post all of these resources from today as well. Also, I have all of the notes from today are already done for you. So if you're here and it helps you engage to take notes, great. But I do have a website. It's and again, this will be. I'll share this again at the end of the session, but it's oneipad.weebly.com, and I would have changed that to, something like making the most of the tech you have, but I'm all out of free URLs on Weebly, so we're stuck with this one. So oneipad.weebly.com, every resource I have, so if I share an app on this site, it's got the name of the app, you click it, it takes you to where you can get that app, right? It's all set up for you, so easy to go. This presentation will be there as well. And possibly the video I'm recording of this as well, we'll see. So there are links and pictures and examples, all those sorts of things, and it's kind of an ongoing thing. This is a session I give every year, and it changes just a little bit as technology changes, so it's all right there. Goals for today. Coming to CEA is often encouraging, but can be overwhelming. You leave with all these things you feel like you should be doing. Sometimes it's like drinking out of a fire hose. It's a good reminder, I think, though, coming to CEA about how exhausting it can be to be a student. We spend 2 days as a student, it's like, oh man, I can't take this anymore, right? And so for today, I would encourage you to maybe just find 1, 2, 3 things that you could try. And if possible, try them next week. And find something simple, try it next week. Okay, most of these ideas are not something that would take a lot to set up. Try it out on Monday morning, and even better, let me know how it went. I've got my contact information. I'd love to, and I share that contact information because I'd love to have it be used. I'm passionate about using technology in meaningful ways enough that I'll talk to strangers about it. So strangers will become friends, I'm sure. Okay. Here's my confession. Now maybe you are in a situation where you had all these plans in August, and now it's still September, so you're thinking, oh, it's October. No, in my classroom, it still feels like September. And you had all these plans about how you're going to take pictures every week, you're going to post them on the website, and you go back to your website and all you have is pictures from the first week of school. I have to be honest in saying that when I was getting ready for this presentation, there's so much of this presentation I have not done any of in my first month of school. So it's not like I've been doing this for the whole last month. No, I'm in survival mode right now. I'm reading curriculum for fun, right? I have all new subjects, and trying to figure out schedules and all that. So if you are coming into this room thinking you're the only one who's not doing this, you're not. Even the guy presenting is not using as much technology as he'd like. So we're going to get our head on straight and hopefully move forward. So here, even last year I said I don't do all of these things all the time. Some of the examples I'm going to share with you are from my time in a 5th grade classroom, and some are from a 2nd grade classroom, now I'm in a 3rd grade classroom. And most of these can be done on a variety of devices, so hopefully you won't feel limited by whatever technology you have. And in most cases, it's either free or worth it. So whatever I'm going to share with you, it's either free or worth it, okay? As mentioned in my introduction, Rushton Hurley is a kind of a semi-famous tech presenter. He says we should only use technology that makes our lives easier or student life's better. Even better if it can be both. But often we know if our teaching is going to be better, it's going to take some work on our part, but we signed up for that, right? Okay, so simple but powerful. Your device likely has a camera on it. Many of us are walking around with our camera in our pocket all day, every day, or in our purse, right? And so with an iPad, there's obviously a camera on there as well. It's a little harder to use a camera on a desktop, but how can we use the camera to kind of open up the classroom walls? Well, it's so easy to take pictures, right? There's a reason why, 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, it was just photo albums. Now we each, we come back from a trip, a weekend trip, and we have 400 pictures that we're taking, right? We take pictures quickly and easily. Pictures, the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Pictures of what's happening in your classroom, they're really very important. Now, every school is going to have a different policy about how those pictures can be shared and that sort of thing. But your kid your students might come home and talk about something in school and it just does not make sense. And having a picture of what's happening in your classroom, whatever that might be, biology experiment, or accounting activity, whatever it is, if there's a new algorithm that you're teaching in class and you want to have kids show examples of that, whatever it is, opening the doors of your classroom is really, really important. And on most devices, it's either, it's just a swipe up and you hit this little camera and you're there. On my phone, I know I just shake it and the camera opens up, so I can get to that right away. So I love this picture here. This is a picture of a gentleman who every year for his entire teaching career wore the same thing on picture day, which is just awesome, right? Just awesome. And so here we see something, but you know what? I took this idea and I now have a tradition. I saw this and I thought, I have the kids on the first day of school, we get a class picture. And then in the last weeks of school, we take another class picture, but they have to wear the same thing they did on the first day of school. And their pants are so short, and it's just really fun. It's really fun. We put them side by side. It's just amazing, especially those of you who are at that lower elementary phase to see how much they grow. And to see it right there, and that goes in their memory book at the end of the year or whatever. Powerful. Time-lapse pictures. We did we were growing bean plants in second grade. Those things grow an inch a day, right? They grow really quickly. And so I said, we're going to jump into science. I said, kids, for the next week, if I say we're jumping into science, I'm not allowed to start the lesson until I take a picture. So what I did is I just stood in the same spot and took a picture. Next day, took a picture. And then we had this really nice time lapse over the course, and they could kind of flip through quickly, and the plants would grow really quickly. We raised some salmon they had this fish tank that raised salmon, and they came as these teeny tiny little fish. And every time I passed that on the way to art, my kids would see me. I'd stop, I'd take a picture, and we'd keep going. And at the end of the year, I sent the fourth graders a time lapse. I think I had maybe 40 pictures right from the beginning all the way to the end, and they could just watch them grow together. It was fun. Taking pictures of student work at the beginning and end of the year. Portfolios, a lot of schools do different things. Just snapping a picture of it, especially if it's something that you're going to send home but you want to keep record of. Comparing beginning and end of the year is just a really powerful experience for kids, and I should say for kids, but for parents as well. If you are in a classroom that I'm going to say third grade and up, if you've got the technology, that's something. A new version of Java is available. We're going to do this later, I think. Where did we go? Hey, there we are. All right, so if you have access to technology in your classroom and you're in a situation where the kids, you're confident that they know how to use the technology and treat it well, kids should be taking these pictures. Kids should be taking these pictures. We're going to go out and do this year. Who's going to be my photographer today? What's great about that is you get lots of pictures, so a little more work in kind of finding the 4 that you want. But in any case, they can do it. They can do it. And sometimes even, you want a field trip or you have a parent in the room. Will you take pictures with me? And then before you leave, why don't we share those? You can outsource that a little bit, especially with older kids. If you've got the devices, there's no reason they can't take the pictures. And so one thing too, a day in the life of students, I said it one time where I just had an alarm that went off every 15 minutes, which is kind of annoying, but when that 15-minute alarm off, I just took a picture of whatever we were doing at that time. Whatever we were doing at that time. And so at the end of the day, we had, 20 pictures that I shared, and I just called it a day in the life of second grade. And parents never see their kids lining up. They don't see, so it's just really like, it was just a nice snapshot into our day. That might be something to try even just in the first week here. Pictures, and I would say this is true for videos as well, are the bait that get parents on your website and get parents to read your newsletter. I will often, if I have a nice batch of pictures that I'm going to link to in the newsletter, I will title my newsletter, classroom newsletter plus pictures. Because I will find that there's more engagement. People will open it up and read it. They're more likely if they know that there's going to be some pictures in there. Okay. Video as well. Video is super powerful, and I'm not talking about long projects that involve iMovie. I'm just talking about little clips here or there. That lets your parents see your class in action. And same thing here. In most cases, you just swipe up on whatever device you have, look at that camera, and start taking a video. And so let me go back here just a second. One thing I will say, little things throughout the day. It can be the whole class, reciting their Bible memory with their motions. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. Super cute, super easy to record. Again, you have to know the policy for your school about what you can and can't share. Our websites are all password protected, so it's we're covered there. But videos, very, very powerful. I remember seeing a video of a bunch of kindergartners that had chicks that they raised in the room, and they each had an iPad, and they were trying to record a video of these chicks that were moving all over the table. It was such a precious video, and it was so fun because it let parents see, wow, this is, first of all, a very daring teacher. Second of all, they get kids, right? They get kids, they're getting them. And third of all, just very thankful for that teacher who's with those kids. It was a zoo in multiple senses of the word. So a document camera. I have for the last 3 or 4 years here used my iPad as my document camera. If you have an Apple TV, you can, with an app like this, you can actually use your camera too, but if you think about it, if you've got your Apple TV, or even a direct connection, you can project what's on your iPad to a screen. Well, if you can stand for that iPad, and people have all sorts of things that they've tried with this. I just bought an iPad stand, and you set it over top. Now it's projecting anything that's underneath up there. It's essentially a document camera, okay? What's nice about it is it's a portable document camera. So, okay, I'm going to show you how I did this. Here's the problem. All right, before I do it, okay, you guys solve it. We'll see what you did. Okay, how did you solve the problem? Let's take a look at how she solved the problem. We can all look at that together. Oh, come over here. How did you solve the problem? It's portable, right? And they always have fun if you shine it on them because then they're on the screen or whatever. And so it's portable. Now, I have this app here, which is $5, which last time I checked is less than what it costs to get a document camera. What's really nice about this app specifically is, so this is what it would look like kind of on your screen. You can record whatever you're doing. You have a kid who's gone and you're teaching a lesson. You can record it and share it with them, okay? You can snap pictures of what you're doing, so you're doing something that can't be repeated later, whatever. You can draw over top of things, whatever. I remember having a flower here. We're going to do parts of a flower, so I projected it on my whiteboard, and here we are just writing on top of that flower, which we've dissected, whatever. Lots of other features that honestly I don't use too much, with the exception of there's a little easel up there with a little poster on it, kind of third from the right there. Those are backgrounds. And I have just 3 or 4 backgrounds, and you can just pull these in from your photos library. One of them is a world map, right? There's a Venn diagram in there, a See, Think, Wonder chart. You know what I'm saying? These things that you're going to KWL chart. And a lined piece of paper. It's so funny where you just say, okay, we're gonna, everybody write on the top line if you do this on the whiteboard, but then you no, actually the top line, I want it to look a certain way. So you can kind of project whatever thing you're using often in class. I know friends of mine that take hot lunch on the whiteboard, so they would just have that they pull in. So those backgrounds can be very helpful, and you can always have a map that's up to date, which is not true with this, the pull down numbers. So here's some examples of the stands. There are some very, very pricey ones. I don't understand doing this. This is the one I have and I love, and they don't make it anymore, sorry. Some other options over here. One thing that was really cool to find out is, at least with my iPad, a lot of document cameras have lights on them. The iPad actually adjusts very quickly to, when you turn the lights off, it just kind of changes the exposure so you can see it. So you don't really actually even need a light source with it. I guess if you had all the lights off, that might mean one thing, but it actually adjusts very well. So I found I haven't needed a light source for that. It's nice, you can clip it to anything. Again, if you're not using an Apple TV, wherever you're plugging into the wall, you can do that as well. Okay? So here are some of my backgrounds that I have, that I've used. I'm trying to think if there's anything else here. We'll just keep going. All right, green screening. You can do this on a variety of devices. I've done it with an iPad. This is an iPad app called Green Screen by Doing. I'll show you a couple examples of this. This is something I used before school started, and I was hoping to do in the first weeks of school, but didn't get to because I was just trying not to drown. So, using a green screen. Green screen, if you've ever seen like a weather person standing in front of the map, it's not actually a map, it's a green screen, and they can kind of see a projected image of themselves. But what it does is it allows you to create videos or pictures where you get to choose the background. And you can actually do this through iMovie as well, but what I like about this app is you can do multiple layers. So you can have something behind you and in front of you. Which doesn't seem like a big deal, but I'll show you what this looks like. So here, example, a kid's going to give a report on sharks. There's something really cool about that shark being behind them while they're giving the report, right? And so green screens, what do I use this in my classroom. If you go to the dollar store and buy a green tablecloth, staple it to your bulletin board, okay? That's it. You've got a green screen. Last year I gave away a green screen. This year I didn't bring one because I hadn't been out of my home or school for a long time. So, some people have used shower curtains. That's fine. You can get nice professional setups. But honestly, what I like about this is I think I've gone through in the last couple of years 2 or 3 of them. At some point, it's like you've got enough holes in you got to get rid of it. You figure out some things too. If they stand too close to the green screen, they get a shadow and it doesn't work as well. If there's something high contrast behind it, doesn't work as well. So yeah. So these are things you can figure out for yourself. But even when it doesn't work great, it's still, the kids don't know any different, right? And so here's some examples of ways I've used green screen as a welcome to a school year. So this was last year. We had kind of superhero theme of a start to the year. We won't watch the whole thing, but I'll give you an idea of what we're looking at. If it plays. Risky business. I wonder if my Wi-Fi is good here. Well, I've got another video. Let's go to the next one, see if that one works. This is this year's video. Hello and good evening. Harold Piercy here, coming to you live from the News Channel 3 desk with all of the day's news. News Channel 3, real news most of the time. There's a lot of information to get to this evening, so let's jump right into it. Starting with Lester Smart with weather. Les, what can we expect from the day ahead?
Well, yes, Les Smart here with today's weathercast. Weather forecast. Well, let's see. Let's look at our map and see what we've got coming up here. This does not look good. Oh, well, I guess we can expect large blue H's and large red L's floating in the sky. And look at them huge. Oh, don't even get me started on the yellow dotted lines. Well, luckily we're below all of this messing Grand Rapids, but this is horrible. Well, what are we going to do? I mean, take cover, everybody.
Les, I hate to interrupt here, but I feel like I need to do service to our viewers here and let them know that it's not actually large H's and L's that are floating through the sky to destroy us, but those represent high and low pressure systems. Right, Les?
Oh, yes! That makes way more sense than what I said. Oh, no! Oh, I was really worried.
All right, we'll skip ahead a little bit. And so here's a picture of an overview at ArtPrize. Next to my friend Arthur Craftsy here, who is going to tell us a little bit about his installation in ArtPrize this year, a 30-foot tall fidget spinner. Yes, you can call me Art. I did create this 35-foot fidget spinner just in time for our prize. If there's anything I've learned about our prize, you need to give people what they want. And everybody loves fidget spinners, right? And so I thought, bada bing, bada boom. We make one that's 35 feet tall. The kids will love it. They'll all vote for me. Simple as that. And did it take you long to build this fidget spinner? Yes, it did take 3 months, nearly 3 months for me to build. And I actually had to extend the roof of my garage to make this happen. Oh, well, if you don't mind me asking, what good is a fidget spinner if you can't pick it up or spin it in your hands? Oh, I guess I never really thought of that. I think I gotta go. All right, so this is just pure silliness, right? But over 1,000 views. When I shared with the kids, over 1,000 views. Now that could be one kid watching it 1,000 times. The other one was a superhero video, which I got some footage of clouds going by, and then I just had one. I had a green screen. My wife probably thought it was insane. We set up a green screen with a bench, and then I went on and flew to school.
That's
and we had
checking out. You gotta see that.
Yeah, oh yeah, and then so and then there also was really neat is at our school we had somebody who did some drone footage over top of our school, and so I have a picture of me, just my head and the back of my hands going over. But what's so cool about it is as I'm going over, the kids look up. And so that was a really great thing, and just fun and silly, and to have them come in, people I don't even know, grandparents, we love the video. It's like, I had no idea what you're talking about. Oh, that video, okay. So fun and silly. Now I will tell you, I learned a lesson. Do not interview yourself with a green screen because the timing piece is impossible. I had to kind of record myself doing it, give some lead time, and then I had to actually play the video of me recording myself, so I jumped in at the right time. It was way more than, I thought, oh, this won't be that hard, but it was, and actually, if you weren't, there were times when this person didn't move, because he couldn't, because I needed more time, you know. So it's risky, but you can just see just pure silliness, pure fun, but super engaging. And so I'll show you some examples of what it looks like in the classroom itself. So superhero theme. So we started this out, and this is an example of bringing in a PNG. It's called like a JPEG image, but it's just an outline. And so here are my kids, stronger together in 2nd grade. Super speedy in 2nd grade. So there they are running with the Olympic runners from that year. And then flying high in 2nd grade. And so these were not hard to take. Once you set it up, the kids just come in, they put on the cape, you know, whatever. And we got that for my dress-up stuff at home. Christmas cards for parents. And what was really fun for this is the kids, I just said, stand right like this. And I said, and if some of you want to put your hands up, too, you can. They're like, what is this for? I said, just do it. And then for Christmas, I sent it as like a little Christmas gift to them. I said, I've got a gift that's going to come in. And so they all had something like this. And then later, what did I see on Facebook? All of these pictures are posted. Right? Merry Christmas from our family or whatever. So super cute, super fun. We had a Wonka party, a Willy Wonka party. And so I just had the kids stand in front of what Mike TV, kind of looks like Wonka's hand is on her shoulder. One thing to keep in mind, you got to make sure you crop up the parts that aren't green screen, so you can see the brick wall in the back there. But really, really fun. So we had a Wonka party, and they got pictures with Gene Wilder, who I'm sure they had no idea who he is. The parents thought it was fun. So lots of things you can do this for. News and weather reports, it's really fun. Holiday party photo booths. I mean, you can essentially use this as a photo booth. You can jump into famous artwork or historical settings. I mean, how cool is that? You've got your colonists, that want to move to one place or another, and they're talking to each other, and you have a picture of them sitting in an old town hall or whatever. Geographical locations, and just for classroom presentations, it's quite fun. Pretty easy, $3. See, worth it, right? So you can use your iPad as a scanner to scan. You know, if you're given a piece of paper and you want to digitize it, you can use it as a scanner. There are scanning apps out there which are great, but I think just recently now you can take pictures with I want to say, is it called Keep? On these devices that will allow you to kind of digitize documents. What it looks like is this. You have a piece of paper, and it will automatically, when you take a picture, it finds kind of the edges of that paper, turns it into a PDF just by taking a picture. Some of these apps will actually make it into an editable doc. So if you have a doc that you only have a paper copy of, you can take it and you can change it. And then of course you can share it, you can send it to Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever. Lots of different options out there, but that's one way to use your iPad as well. The Notes app, that's what it was. The Notes app On the iPhone or iPad, you can scan it and it automatically sends it off, which can turn any paper into a printable file. Plickers. How many of you use Plickers? Okay, this is awesome. It's free. It's easy and it's super engaging. So it's essentially this. Every kid in my class has a whiteboard in their desk. Okay, we use this for math and lots of different things. And on the back is one of these things. Okay, these are free to print off online. And what it does is it's hard to see here necessarily, but there's an A right here, a B right here, a C right here, and a D right here. So I might ask a question, all right, we just did this thing in math. If you're feeling great, you're saying, Mr. Helder, I got it. You're gonna put in A up, okay? If you're feeling like, you know what, I'm getting there, I might need to work with a partner, you're gonna put a B up. If you're saying, I'd like Mr. Helder, I'd like you to repeat it to me one more time, or to teach me one more time, put C up, and if you quit 3rd grade, put D up, okay? And so then what you do is they hold it up to whatever their answer is, and you take your phone or your iPad and you just scan the group, collects all the information for what they just said. So now, they don't see this, but I can just say, okay, you 3 go work by yourself. I need these 3 kids right here, I need you over here, and these 3 kids are gonna do, are gonna work with me, but I see a couple D's there, I'm gonna just give them a couple positives when we do meet together, telling them they can do it. That, you get the idea. So this is great for polling the group. It's very tactile, it's high-tech, but also very low-tech, right? These are easy to print. I put them on something that you have in your desk. I know in high schools, sometimes they'll have them just stick it on the back of their binder or whatever they have. Really fun. And so there are educational uses for this. Some people use it for their hot lunch. So think about this, okay? Put this up if you want. Hot lunch, cold lunch, just milk, or you're bringing a lunch from home. And then what you do is you just snap a picture. Snap, it's got all your information right there, right? And for exit tickets too, obviously you can do multiple choice here with this. It's great for teaching graphs. It's great for teaching graphs because you can if you're doing it on your iPad, you can display what's on here, and then you look at graphs and you can learn quite a bit. And I use it quite a bit in 2nd grade, and it was really helpful. You can read about some kids in a book that they don't know, or you can ask a question that really matters to them and go from there. And I used it quite a bit. If you think about this is quite discreet. So nobody around me really knows which way I'm holding this up, right? And so I did learn some tricks. The people in the back should hold them up. People in the front should hold them down. People in the middle should hold them in the middle, so they're not blocking each other. So you figure these things out. But it's very discreet. So kids actually don't know how each other will. You'd have to really look closely. It's quite small. There are ones that print. It's very similar with bigger letters if you want it to be more overt or you think there's going to be an issue for kids seeing that. But lots of fun, totally free. You download the free app and then you can download these free PDFs as well. Book Wizards. So this is my 3rd school. This is my 3rd library. And 3rd time I've had to level books. Super duper. And so, as I'm going through Book Wizard, how many of you used Book Wizard before? Okay, you might have gone on the website, but there's actually a great mobile app. And what it allows you to do is just scan the UPC on the back of the book, and it will automatically take you to leveling information for that book, which is super helpful. Sometimes that UPC doesn't scan, or if it is a Scholastic book, sometimes they don't even have a UPC because they're only available through book orders. And then you're going to search by ISBN, which is fine. One of the tricks I've learned is you just click here, and then when you're going to do the ISBN, you know how there's a little microphone on the bottom of your keyboard? Okay, if you just click that and say the ISBN instead of trying to type it, you just read it, it'll kind of put that information in there and then you can search for it. And you figure those things out when you scan about 400 or 500 books, right? And so very, very easy. It's also great if somebody comes up to you and says, do you know any other books by this author? You can scan the book, take you to this, but then you can click on J.K. Rowling's name and find what other books she may or may not have written. So great way to kind of get to know the books. Yeah, I think that's about it. Keep going, okay? So there's a microphone on most devices, and so how can we utilize that? I realize this is actually a dated picture. It now looks a little bit different than this, but you guys know when you, on your smartphone or on an iPad, you'll see that little microphone there. And so you can use this for a variety of helpful things. So here, you can use it within a document. And I do my report cards this way. I speak my report cards. Anna's had a great start to the year period. And you kind of do this. And actually, if they have a traditionally spelled name, it works really well. And if they don't, you just change those names and you're good to go. It's good, and every year it gets a little better. And so it's also, if you think about that, how valuable would it be just one time in front of your students to dictate the punctuation in a paragraph? Do you know what I'm saying? For them to hear, oh, we came to the end of an idea, period, or comma, question mark. It reminds me a little bit of that verbal dictation that Victor Borgnine, I think is his name. What's that? Yes, yeah, and so, for every time he came to a period, he'd make a popping noise and all this. It's fun. It's actually fun to watch. I watched it with second graders and with older kids as well. So, also, this only works if you speak clearly. So the first, I did it, I remember in second grade, the first week of school, we'd write a blog post together, and I'd say, well, what was your favorite part of the day? So they'd come up and they'd say, my name is, and my favorite part of the week was, and they'd speak it, and it kind of came on the screen, and the next person would come down, and we'd go down. But if they didn't speak clearly, it didn't come through. And so that was awesome. Little public speaking skills here, right? You have to speak clearly for it to understand what you're going to say. And then, and this would be great too for kindergarten, right? Kids who can't type, or maybe write or whatever, they can still write a blog post, right? Just with their voice, which is powerful. All right, Siri. Siri is present obviously on Apple devices. There are, Google's got its own assistant. So these assistants that are built into these devices are actually quite powerful and can be used in the classroom in non-annoying ways. So there's lots of stuff you can ask, and I have Siri here, but most of these are true for any of the Google Assistants. You can open things together. You can say, what's my calendar look like? You can say, what's the weather look like? Or whatever it might be. And so there's a lot of things you can do on the website. I listed a page that just gives lists and lists of things that you can ask them to do. I actually have a blog post all about using Alexa as well in the classroom, so this is not necessarily just specific to there. So today's weather, okay? Mr. Elder, do I need to wear a coat? Go ask Alexa. Do you need to wear a coat? What's the weather for, and they come back, well, it's 50 degrees outside. Does that seem cold to you? Yeah? Put on a coat, so they can figure this out. My daughter, we have a little Echo Dot in our house, and every night before we go to bed, we kind of set out our backpacks and shoes and things like that. She asks Alexa to know whether or not she needs to wear boots or whatever. Trying to build some independence there, we'll see. It's a great way to double check your math. You can just say, what's 25 times 36? And it'll give you the answer, okay? What's the capital of Peru? You can, this kind of semi-trivial information that maybe you don't know, it does. Flip a coin. Flip a coin. Oh, it sounds like you guys need to have a Siri flip a coin for you. That's not my deal. You guys have to figure this out yourself, right? Set an alarm. I do this all the time. That child who comes up to you and says, I need to be dismissed at 1:17 this afternoon. So it's like I tap it. Remind me at 1:13 this afternoon that Jacob needs to be dismissed. And then in the middle of the afternoon, when I'm obviously not thinking about that, I get a little thing in my, oh, Jacob, you're dismissed. I'm on it, right? So alarms. So I use this quite a bit. There's just stuff that pops up and trying to keep track of it all. Some people can do it. Sticky notes by the door, who knows? But this is how I do it. Jokes, just for fun. I have Wacky Wednesdays. It's a day in the afternoon or I should say during lunch, where kids can each come up one at a time and tell jokes, have 3 people guess their joke, and then choose the next joke teller. Every once in a while, they'll choose Siri as the joke teller, which is kind of fun. Things like the next full moon. So this is a content-related thing. Somebody, you're learning about eclipses, or you're learning about phases of the moon. When is the next full moon? You can ask that kind of thing. If you need to know, like for percentages, tips, that kind of thing. Or finding books by a certain author, opening apps, whatever. Because a lot of us have many apps, and sometimes we don't want to search through it. In fact, I had this just the other day. A kid was trying to find an app on the computer, and another kid said, here's what you do. What app do you want to open? Oh, you want this one? He pushed the little seer in the corner and said, say open. And he did, and it just opened, and that was it, right? He's got to figure it out. So, some teaching tools. Glow Bible was a really powerful resource, and then they updated it, and it's a little less so. But it's basically a digital Bible, and it presents the Bible this way. It's the best, maybe cleanest way to look in the Bible. Even in 3rd grade, if I say, hey, will you turn to Psalm 23? 5 minutes later, we're all ready to go. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and sometimes you have time for that. And you really do need to make time for that because they need to be comfortable in God's Word. But sometimes you don't because Jim went wrong and you had to talk to 2 kids and you could, and so what's nice about this, you can just project it up there. This is with the, I do a black background and white words. I find it's easier to read if the lights are on. You can adjust the size of the lettering, and you can bookmark different pages. I know you can, there are people, if you have multiple bookmarks for each lesson, whatever it might be. So this is the Glow Bible. Simple, great way to do it, especially if you don't have a lot of time going from there. All right, travel the world. Google in the last 5 years has done just amazing things with their map and geo-exploration tools. With Google Maps, Google Earth, and Google Expeditions. So Google Maps, to me, as soon as Google Maps became as good as it did, there's just no reason to use that world map that's 19 years old in your room. It's too good. You can't zoom in and out of a world map, right? You can't spin around the globe, whatever it might be. And so very powerful, and great for whatever you're doing. If you read about something that's happening in a different country, where is that country? Well, let's jump from our current location to that country. Let's get a sense of our context here. Google Earth is great. No matter what activity we've done in Google Earth, it has to start with them finding their house. Very kind of them focused, but they start there, and so looking at different things through Google Earth, lots and lots of fun. Google Expeditions is a new thing where you can take your class on a virtual field trip. If you've got multiple devices, you can set it up, and we're going to go to maybe one of the ecosystems we've had. And so they have on their screen a picture, and they can do one of these things, this 360 thing, and they kind of look around. And then if you wanted to point out a certain geographic thing or a certain thing in the picture, you would touch it, and then on all of their screens, it would show an arrow that they need to follow so that we're all looking the same way. And so you tap it, and you see everybody in the room go the right direction. So we're all looking at the same thing. So it's really, really neat. And there's hundreds of these. Everything, we did it. I just did a lesson last year about urban, suburban, and rural. By what? Well, let's visit an urban location, a suburban location, and a rural location. What do you see? What do you notice? What's different about these places? All inner seats at school. So, great for ecosystems. Erosion patterns are really fun to look at there. Measurements and distances, real world measurements and distances. Famous historical sites. Lots of different things. Country and state reports, just getting great images of different parts of the world. A powerful tool. The clock. So this is pretty basic, but I use it quite a bit. There's a little clock app on most devices. And so how am I using it? There's on the iPad, it's a sweet timer. There are a lot of timers out there that are actually super distracting, which totally is like against the whole idea of the timer. I want them focused on what they're doing for a short amount of time. And so it's just this, and I say, we are moving on to this next subject in 15 minutes. When do you think you're going to need to stop working? Okay, keep your eyes on the clock, because we're going to go from there. So a nice timer here, we use this quite a bit. And that's one of those things too with Siri, you can say set a timer for the next 15 minutes or whatever, it'll just pop up, which is great. If you have to use it for tracking, different activities where you have to have multiple laps or whatever, there's a stopwatch on here as well. If your schedule will present in here, I use Google Calendar, so it's not here, but some people do use that quite a bit in the clock app too. And then a world clock, which is super helpful if you're learning about time zones, or you're learning about, you're getting a sense of the fact that if it's day over here, it's night over here, it's kind of neat to see. And then a listening station. So my first year in 2nd grade, my mother-in-law retired that year from 1st grade. So she gave me all of her books, and it was awesome. She also blessed me with about 150 book on tape. And she just said, oh, it's not that hard. You just have to teach the kid how to, put it in. And then I'm like, I'm not teaching them how to use a cassette player. This is not on the list of things I'm going to do. That should be done, So I ended up taking it and creating a listening station. And so basically, I had just, this is just a picture I found online, but I just had those recordings. I took them. This is the craziest thing. You can take a recording on a cassette. You take that like a headphone jack line, but it's headphones on both lines, or I'm sorry, at the jack end on both sides, that little cord, and you plug it in here, and then you plug it into your computer, and then you just open up, I think, GarageBand. You press play, and it just starts showing up in GarageBand. It's really actually quite simple to go from a cassette to a digital recording. It's crazy. And if you want to do it, I'd do it soon, because soon enough you're not going to be able to find a cassette player. So what I did with that is I had these book on tape, and so I had it set up, and I brought them in, and I put the album artwork. You can choose your album artwork inside, and what I did is I had a very techie, very loving mom in my classroom who went in and put the cover of the book as the album artwork, so they would just push it, they go on to the next one. And I originally, so I had to stand I had a case like this. I was so worried that children, coming from 5th grade, I had no idea what to expect as what second grader would do, so I had this case that was like this thick. And it kind of stood up on end, and originally I had headphones at the listening station, but lice, so that was done. And also they got tangled, and they were older and whatever. I actually found that just the iPad, playing at its top volume, was actually perfect. The group could hear it if they were all around it, and if they couldn't hear it because kids were talking to them, they'd go, shh, we're trying to listen, and they go back into it. So it was a really nice spot. And so I would just have 4 or 5 kids with the books that I had there, and they would listen to it there. It worked quite good. I also recorded some of my own recordings. I had my daughter and I about once a week, we'd sit down and read a few books, and she knew that when Dad turned the page, she had to push the bell. So I have these really fun recordings of me and her, which someday we'll probably listen together and cry. But lots of fun, and it's funny too because you hear little things in the background, and you can tell she's late sometimes, but that's just part of the fun. So the only downside to that is you have to listen to yourself speak in your classroom. All right, you can use a iPad or many devices as a remote control. So, for example, if you have an Apple TV and you have a tough time keeping track of a remote that is the size and shape of a stick of gum, is teeny and constantly lost, you can use your iPad actually in this way, or your phone. And it's actually really nice, especially if you're using like Netflix. You ever had to type something into Netflix? You're kind of moving up and down, that kind of thing. But with this, if you have it hooked up as your remote, you can just type using the keyboard on your device, which is actually really nice. Or even better, you can just say, you just say the title of your thing and it appears there, right? So there's something really nice about that. It's a lot harder, not impossible, but it's a lot harder to lose an iPad or your phone. So you can use it as a remote, which is helpful. We'll keep moving here. Okay, so this is true for a lot of things. I find that the technology can often be a way to kind of clear some of the clutter out of your room, and I'll tell you what I mean by that. These devices, we have all of these apps that do really great things. And so, for example, I talked about that map earlier. If you've got Google Maps, do we really need that big, 15-year-old map in the front? So what other things are there in the room that we might reconsider now that we have access to technology? I have so I moved to 2nd grade, and what did I have? That big Judy clock waiting for me. And if you don't know what a Judy clock is, no worries. But it's that big yellow clock. They've been around forever. I don't think they can be destroyed. It's great, and the hand moves and all that kind of thing. And I have now in my new classroom, I have a whole classroom set of Judy clocks, right? And we use them 2 days a year, 3 days a year maybe. And so I have a devoted section of my class that I cannot get back because of those 3 days a year, right? And now there are these apps, which if you look at it, here I've got a whole clock here, and you can adjust whether you want to see the minutes or you don't. Okay, this is really helpful, right? Another thing is, as we're going around, what happens through our window, the sun comes out and goes back down, right? And so we get the sense of, AM, look what happens when AM switches over to PM. Small things, but man, these are really helpful. These are really helpful. And a lot of these things have some things built in that are, what time is it? You kind of click it and then they all guess, and you can press it. It's more of a game thing. And it's one of these things where I'm going to do it, okay, now I hand it to you and you do it, right? And so everybody can see it. Duty clock is this big, clock on my screen with this is this big. There's something nice about that. So now, it's not to say I think we need to get rid of every tactile experience, but this is one where I think, no, this is actually, maybe you could improve your instruction of time with an app like this, okay? 3D shapes, an app like this where you're learning about it, and you click it, and it tells you how many nodes, how many vertices, how many faces. You kind of spin it around, it's nice and big, it's much better than maybe than my wood blocks underneath. I can pass those wood blocks around, but you get the idea, okay? This was so powerful. We all, so this is lower elementary, I admit, but we all have these base 10 blocks. There's just something so cool about when you throw a base 10, or you throw 1,000 and boom, it appears right there, that number appears right there. I'm gonna put that one in, boom. And then when I'm showing what subtraction looks like, we're gonna actually take away these things, what's left over. You can do the same thing. You can do the same thing with base 10 blocks in front of everybody, but there's just something nice about this kind of reactive number up there, and then taking a screenshot of it, whatever. You've got some resources there. So you have this kind of interactive chart, and again, it fills your whole screen. Wall map, again, there's something nice about having maps that you can zoom in, zoom out of, always up to date. And the kids, it's funny, in lower elementary, they think if you zoom into the top of your school, they think that, one of them can run outside and, wave. It's like, no, it doesn't quite work that way. And it's actually really neat, too. You look at a picture of your school, how do you know that this is an old picture? We got that new part of the playground and it's not there, right? I mean, there's some cool, what time of year was this picture taken? Right? On some cloudless day. All right. Same thing, money. I have money, I'd love to use real coins, but then those coins can disappear. Fake coins don't look or feel like real coins. And having something like this, and I also don't have a lot of $100 bills to use in my instruction. And so something like this is really neat. It's huge and it's fun. And again, what's happening as I'm bringing them over here, look at this, a 5 comes up, a 25 comes up, and we see things adding together. That doesn't mean you have to throw away all that play money in your room, but you can see how this would be a very powerful tool. And if you're only doing it one day a year, maybe it's time to give some of that play money to the kindergarten teachers so you can just use this, okay? Periodic table. Oftentimes, that's something that's constantly updated. One new element comes in and there goes your whole table. And so there's some really neat resources online. You can click on it and get more information. Tried to throw in one high school example. I really don't know anything about it, but there you go. All right. And then I'm sure there are other ideas. Part of it is you kind of have to know your own classroom. There's probably things that you use just once a year, and there may be a digital equivalent that would maybe not replace that tool, but maybe would improve the instruction for that. Because honestly, if you think about these apps that we have here, for many of these kids, it's way more engaging. If I can see myself in that money app, for example, hey, when we're ready, when you guys show me you can do this, then we'll start using $100 bills. But not yet. You guys show me, there's an engaging piece to that. They come in and there's just a $100 bill on the board. Yeah, there's something kind of cool about that. All right, so here's a few things that I use in my classroom that aren't necessarily for my students, they're just for me, to make my life a little bit easier. Duet. Duet is an app that it says $20, and it is sometimes $20. It goes on sale regularly for as low as $10. And all Duet does is turns your iPad into a separate screen. Okay, so what I can do is you can you plug it in, and then you just kind of position your iPad, and you can kind of use it as a separate screen. So like when I'm doing report cards, I have my gradebook over here, and the report card thing open over here. Does that make sense? So you can kind of see an example of it at work. Does that make sense? You can kind of drag things back and forth. Okay, I just use it when I need 2 screens. And it's very simple, and that's it. And so it works very, very well. It's not something I'm going to use all the time, but it's nice not to have to buy an extra screen or deal with that. So it works, I love it, I love it. Google Photos. Any of you using Google Photos? All right, I have to be honest in saying I feel like a Google Photos evangelist. It is amazing. This tool is unbelievable. Not only for sorting and keeping track of pictures from school, but also our own personal pictures. So, in fact, many of you, I'm guessing there are people in this room, I won't make you raise your hand for this, but my guess is some of you in this room cannot take pictures right now because your memory is full. You have that many, and you're not going to pay for that monthly being able to store them in the cloud for, this is the free version of that. This is the free version where you can store things in the cloud, and you can clear all of those pictures off of your phone. You can say, no, I want to make sure I can keep them and save them. Oh, they're far safer in the cloud than they are in your hands. How many of you have broken a phone in the last month, right? So, so here's what it looks like. It looks like any other Photos app. It looks like any other Photos app. Here I've got pictures of some documents that I had, parent surveys, because even parent surveys, once I get that paper, take a picture of it, get rid of them. I don't want to carry those around for the rest of the year. Getting a little sense of who I am. All right, so and everything's organized chronologically, no problem. Looks like any other app. The power comes in that you can search by topic. So when I go in and I got all of my pictures, my wife the other day was putting together a photo album, and she said, I'd like pictures from the pumpkin patch, when we went to the pumpkin patch. And so at the top you type in pumpkin, only pictures with pumpkins, and then show up. Or if you want pictures of just people hugging, you type in hug, and it just shows the pictures in there that are from hug. That's either terrifying or fantastic. I'll let you decide where you fall on that. But it is really, really very helpful. So like, for example, when I want to find the information about that kid, I scan those pictures, I just type their name. And boom, that picture comes, or that document comes up, it's there ready to go, okay? Oh yeah, so here, for example, this is when I typed in the word tree. So all the pictures that came up with trees in them, all right? There's other ways to search, so you can search for just videos or animations, whatever. But it's very, very helpful, very easy to use. Easier to use, I would say, than the Photos app on your iPhone. And so there's a couple things. It automatically backs up every picture. So if I take a picture, and moments later I drop my phone into the lake, that picture is still saved somewhere, right? You set it up and it automatically does that. You can also set it up that as soon as it's backed up, remove it from my phone, right? As soon as it's backed up, so we're not filling our memory anymore. Instead, you're filling memory on the cloud. It's actually unlimited amount of memory if you're okay with your pictures being in an 8x10 size or smaller. Well, how rare, it's very rare that you would print bigger than that. If you print bigger pictures than that, then you're probably paying for extra memory somewhere else anyways. You can instantly access, so as long as you've got access to the internet, you can access those pictures. You can save them on your device if you need to. And it's a great way to collect yearbook images. It's a great way to collect yearbook images. When I do this with parents, I'll select the images that I want, and I create an album. And instead of posting those pictures on like a gallery on my website, which I always find kind of clunky, you gotta go in and out of each picture. Sometimes they can't download the picture, it takes a while for the picture to load. I send them this link, they can look through, they can pick the pictures they want, download them, they're theirs. Shutterfly sites and things like that are great, but there usually are limitations about whether they can download them. Creating accounts and all that, this requires no accounts on the parts of your parents. As long as you say this is a link, you just send them the link, they have access to it. Also, if you're on a field trip and 4 people took pictures, you send them the link first and allow them to upload pictures, and then you close it. And you can have commenting and that kind of thing if you want. It's very simple, very easy, totally free. Couple things that just came in, new features. One is family sharing. So right now I have it set up that I share pictures with my wife, but she does not want my school pictures at all. She doesn't want them. She doesn't want those pictures. So what I did is I set it up that any picture that is taken of me, or my daughters, or her, she automatically gets. So remember how earlier you can search for a certain person? If it's us, she gets it. Automatically, so I never have to share with her again any of the pictures I take of our family, okay? Another thing that's coming up pretty soon here, released very soon here, I think within the next month, could have already been released, is Google Lens, which allows you to take a picture of something. So if I took a picture of a Coke can, you can click this thing on the bottom, and it will take you to either the Coke website, or the caloric content of the Coke, or the history of Coca-Cola. It will take an image and allow you, so if you're downtown Chicago, you can take a picture of Willis Tower, you can click this little thing, give you the whole history of Willis Tower. Fascinating, using some of that AI. And then also just super easy photo books, and now that I've used it, every once in a while I'll get this thing that says, we've created a photo book for you. How generous. And I go in and it's like, that's not bad. It's 20 bucks? Yeah, let's do that, right? We did go on that vacation, that was great. 20 bucks, I might make a couple adjustments, done. And so they're very, very simple. Maybe not as much choice as you would have like in a Shutterfly book, but very well done. If you are like myself and find that there's so many apps, so many movies, so many games, books to keep track of, and you feel like you're kind of getting left behind, I cannot recommend Common Sense Media more. If any of you use Common Sense Media, oh man, if this is the one thing you take, I'm good with it. Common Sense Media is a place, it's like consumer reports for teachers and parents in terms of content for kids, okay? So my daughter says, I'm going to my friend's house, I'd like to watch this movie. I look it up. How old is she? She's 6. This is for a 9 to 10-year-old. Nope, it's done. And they give you some really specific things. So here's an example. You can search, you can narrow, so I'm going to look for either apps or movies, websites. You can search by age appropriateness. It's been reviewed by editors, how much it costs. You can just say, I only want to see apps with this rating that are appropriate for this kid, that are free and available on Kindle Fires. And it'll filter it down, and now there's 3. Well, who knows? But you can kind of filter that way, which is really, really helpful. Especially, yeah, like I said, you maybe don't know much about those different things. Same thing for books. You have a kid that just loves this certain book. You can find other books that are similar to that with great reviews. They always have an editor's review and then what kids think. Kids always think they're ready for something more than they are, which is why that age is always a little bit higher. But you can search by genre and topics. This is the part that I think is so interesting. So for example, Finding Dory. Who is it appropriate for? 6 plus, okay? So why is that? Well, there's educational value. So look at all the things. They do educational value, positive messages, positive role models. And so that might even be, so lots of violence and scariness. You'd say, what? There's no violence or scariness in Finding Dory. And so you go in there and you say some emotional, potentially disturbing scenes and sequences. Early in the movie, young Dory is separated from her parents, looks for them all over the ocean, and is attacked by sharks. Oh, that is right. This is not something my 3-year-old should watch, unless I would like to get up with her in the night, right? And I will do that too if I have conversations in the classroom about a certain movie. I'll look it up and be like, no, we're not talking about that. None of you should have watched that movie. Talk about something else, right? Well, why shouldn't we have? Well, it says here that there are some emotional and potentially disturbing scenes and sequences right here. You get the idea. So, really, really good, and there's tons of fantastic articles about digital citizenship and resources that you can share with parents. Definitely worth checking out. All right, a couple things real quick because I'm running out of time here. Some tech that I've used, part of my blog is looking for technology that you can use but maybe is a little less expensive. I use this document camera and it's unbelievably good. It's a $99 camera. It hooks right into my computer. It's fantastic. It worked. I like it actually a little more than any Elmo I've ever used. Definitely worth checking out. Super small. I mean, it comes in a box that's like this big. It's teeny. But really great, very portable to use. There is a wireless version of it that I think is $150, which allows you to move it anywhere else. But you wouldn't need that anyway because you're using your iPad now as your document camera. All right. Kindle Fire tablets. 2 years ago, I started using Kindle Fires in the classroom. It's a $49 device. And they go as cheap around the day after Thanksgiving as $33 a piece. 33 bucks. And I ended up with 12 of these. And so they're different size now. This is essentially, think about it this way. iPad size, so this size right here. This is the iPad mini size, $79. And this is the $50 one, which is great if you're 2nd grade and below. Any older than that's just too small of a screen, right? So we did lots of things. They are not iPads. You cannot do all of the things you can do on an iPad. But iPads cost 6 times as much. So would I rather have one iPad or 6 of these devices? Yeah, I'd rather have 6 of those devices, right? And so we use them in a lot of different ways, and my blog has tons of different information about how we use those, but great for basic fact review, basic surfing, e-readers, that sort of thing. So, wrapping up. Here we go. There's my blog, The Thrifty Tech Teacher. Lots of ideas that I have shared there. You can check out more things there, hopefully things that you'll find helpful. And then also, our goals for today. Hopefully you found a couple things that you think you can use this week. Again, if you want to, please let me know. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help however I can. I took the notes for you at oneipad.weebly.com. And my shameless plug, this has nothing to do with the sessions. If you have to walk out now, you can, no worries. I have started a Facebook group that is all called Teacher Book Picks, and it is a place where teachers can recommend books to each other. I found this book, I really, really like it. Does anybody else have a book that is, so if you want to check it out, we've had some good discussions going. Yeah, so Teacher Book Picks, if you have questions, you can come and touch me afterwards. And I think that's it.